We begin as you are all inside of the Gate of Wards. Having met this man and started to talk to him and understand what it is that's he brings to the table as a wizard, and also what you guys are dealing with. He seems older, and he's concerned. He's severely concerned, and he mentions that in Dro choosing to lose his brother, he is now made an enemy of the Hand of Shadow. As he was referring to the monolith which possessed Eve during her spell of Legend Lore. So you are in the tower. This is, that's quite some information to receive. I never would have guessed my day to turn out like this. You all look famished. Would you care for some sustenance?
Do you happen to have another flask? Seeing as I've now used mine up, securing some liquid that I would rather not drink.
Right. I expect it best to not imbibe that. Give me a few minutes and I can give us fabulous food. And he reaches over and brings something levitating over to him and sets a cup in front of him as he conjures a basic table sitting in front of you. Those with arcane abilities or proficiency in Arcana, go ahead and give me an Arcana check.
Yep, that's about right.
I think I am missing from the board.
You are.
So you are. One bug coming right up.
Good at.
That's better. Alright, with 3. 16. Margot, you've seen him do this a couple of times. You're putting together that he's likely a conjuration wizard. As far as schools of magic are concerned. It begins to cast Hero's Feast, which is a 10-minute spell. So you guys are in this place. This welcome to my abode. You're welcome to go wherever you like, as long as the doors. That's not a privacy thing, it's a safety thing. Please don't try to go anywhere other than what's opened. Also, if you get lost, just shout. And pay attention to where you move. Because going down the hallway, it is not necessarily guaranteed that hallway will still exist as you retrace your steps. You may have to get a little to find your way back. But I can always help if you do get truly lost.
We should definitely stay together here.
It is an advisable strategy. You may also call out to Eve.
there any chairs at the table here, or any chairs in the area?
Yep, there are all of them just kind of materialized out of nothing.
Jameis will pull up a seat.
Okay. Jiro, you got a 3. And anybody, especially Eve with her passive perception of 20, it is clear as day that Jiro is not present. So may I ask, this echo person that you've cast the spell on, how does he relate, if at all, to how the guards were chasing him?
Last time I asked a question like that, it led to a whole bunch of guards chasing us. I appreciate your hospitality, but I do not think that those types of questions are the right questions to be asking at a time like this, after a time like that.
What would you suggest, Master
Well-
Flannery?
I'm not supposed to ask questions, so instead I will make a statement. And this statement is, I believe we are top of a mountain. Would you happen to have... Oh, I'm sorry. I stopped listening for a second there.
You are in my home. The Gate
Aye.
of Worlds. This is one of the 24 wizards' towers that surround the Grand Athenium.
I don't know what half of that means, but I do know what a tower is. And a tower tends to mean that we're up higher, which means it's a little bit colder. And as you may or may not see, I am something which has the, I've got shitting. I'm not shitting. I've got shitting with the CH.
It was chitin, but okay.
That one. But anyways, all of this to say, shit, I can't ask questions. You will give me a blanket because I'm cold-blooded and I'm cold. This is really hard not to ask the questions.
You can ask questions, Warden.
He just kind of tilts his head and waves his hand. This thick, wool-based blanket kind of drapes around you, and you're a tall person, and it just piles on you. You look like a little kid who's stuck in a blankie fort.
All 4 arms are gonna go and grasp each of the sides and pull it in a little bit closer. I thank you very much. Being cold is not fun, and it can be quite life-threatening and or fatal at times.
My apologies. My physique renders me almost immune. I do not notice it.
I certainly envy that.
Next time you should ask for a thermal cube.
I don't know what that is.
Well, just keep it as a reminder. That's what you want.
Alright, I'll have to trust you on that one.
Passport, if I may direct the conversation elsewhere, you said you studied grafts, right? That is information I came here seeking. As I told you, I've closed a graft before, and I was hoping to find an easier way of doing it that did not expend all of my resources, especially if I have to close the fight.
Right. And he kind of looks over at Eve. Humbly speaking, of anyone studying in the Grand Athenia, even I have the greatest understanding of graphs. There may be other places in the world, and there likely are, who are also studying graphs to this high degree. We have many employees, so to speak, many researchers in our collective who are going through this. As the primary facilitators of this research, the information trickles up, and we do our own. I have yet to meet someone who has a better understanding of graphs than even I do. Occasionally there are different portions of information that we have not yet delved into. But as far as the advancement of what we do, I would wager we are some of the world's premier experts. Yes. Now, with that being said, we understand, and we've mathematically calculated, approximately 64% of graphs. The other 36 remains vagaries and mysteries at best.
So, a few questions for you. Closing one, basically I dispelled the magic in them, but it took took everything I had. If there was a way to create a device that stored that kind of magic that could be set off like a bomb or something that could be thrown into a graft. And then do you have means of predicting when a graft is opened or where it could be opened? Or maybe detecting one, like locating it? And then finally, have you ever heard of a graft being hijacked through another plane?
I'll answer those in mixed order. No to the last. Hijacking a graft is highly peculiar. Can you remember it a bit more? So as I can frame my mindset.
There's have you heard of Quarry?
Vaguely, yes. From
Do you
what I understand, they are creatures that can enter dreams.
They are. When I was
Go ahead.
closing that draft,
Sorry, go ahead and give Eve an Arcana check as well.
she rolled a 2 as well, but she doesn't have as good of a modifier.
Oh wow. Okay, sorry, continue.
When I was closing that graph, it was like I was breaking down the pillars in a tunnel, slowly bringing it down. But there was another being, the Quarry, coming from. It was like an injection into the graft's path, trying to break into this graft, into our plane, through the graft, but it was not coming from whatever plane the graft was open to. It's like they weren't necessarily hijacking it, but I don't know how to describe it. they were coming in from the side, using it as an entrance.
Give me. What else can you give me about the core?
They are beings of nightmare that can devour and damage dreams. They've always been a problem on the dream plane, but they have gotten far worse. I believe an invasion of sorts, the massing of power on the dream plane, and they may be trying to find a way to this plane.
So, they are creatures of a somewhat ethereal nature, is that correct? Sounds like their home plane is not quite so tangible as ours, or others that may be pulled into.
It is not as tangible, no.
Tell me of the situation with this graft you closed, where this quarry injected itself.
Joe, in your
Yes.
head you hear, how much do we tell him of this? With the fire and the ripples.
I wonder. You said they are creatures of nightmare. Nightmares. From what little I understand, I am not a specialist, but I speak to many who are, and occasional tidbits of them. A nightmare cannot exist on its own. It must corrupt an existing dream. Like mud cannot exist without first. It creates murk and contaminates. Now, if this craft was attached to the manifestation of somebody's dream, something they had been waiting for, something they had longed for, something that they considered this to be their moment, this their dream come true, something related to this graft. Corey could have hijacked that energetic projection and used it as a secret passage of sorts. I see nodding heads.
You just hear in your head, Drow, the fire gene.
Yeah.
And that would explain the quarry's presence. It did not make it through. I brought down that side of the graft before it entered our plane.
That was concerning. I had never heard of that situation before.
So,
And
wait, you said... You're saying that a being could open the graft if they desired?
no, I'm
Else how
saying
would that emotional connection be tethered to it?
no, that is not how grafts are. But if a graft is open already, and a quarry wishes to come through a suitable matchup, and believe me, from vast amounts of studies, grafts are very rarely associated with dreams. They are already a nightmare. Barely anyone or anything will speak to it. That is a unique circumstance in which something like a cord that must have been powerful can utilize that projection to weaken the ethereal barrier between the dream realm as the graft becomes a dream, it becomes a part almost of their domain, their territory. They could potentially use it.
So, is there a way of detecting them?
Yes. Yeah. And he points up to the ceiling and moves his hand, and kind of from out of the ceiling drops essentially like a globe, but it's like suspended by a few like metal rods that don't quite touch it. They just kind of point at it and continue to tell you. My colleagues and I have devised this. And he moves his hand, and the globe kind of spins slowly. And you see on different points of the world there are several different colors of light. Some of them are brighter and more intense, some of them are numerous and small. It's quite the effort. About 15 years worth of studying and engineering. Limited. Guys, give me a moment. I will be right back. Feel free to continue. I'm still listening.
I keep glancing at Drell because he's the one I have the mental connection with, and I'm leaving it up to the champion to spill the beans if he wants to or not.
He's probably half-ass listening. I think a lot of the conversation would go on, and then he'd eventually just... We came here for help. And we're not gonna get it if they don't know what is coming, so... Whatever you feel is beneficial to you to share with them is fine with me.
Okay. I think so far we can get it without sharing too much, so. More than I already have.
I want to roll an insight check on both of them again so bad.
Do it.
I want to know
I
after
kind of
this.
think Margot would, especially if she's about to spill the beans.
There's still a part of Dro. It's just like they know his name now. They know he's from here. They obviously aren't stupid. I want to know if they've connected the dots, because as soon as he asked how he's connected to Echo, how much do they actually know about Dro being here? If they've heard, obviously, I'd imagine news spread when Freya died. So How much can they piece together?
Okay, go ahead and roll insight. And Marco, feel free to do so as well. Anybody else as well?
What the fuck? I can't roll over 10 tonight.
Margo, it's a little hard for you to tell. You're not getting anything from them that is setting off any alarms. But you're also not entirely sure how much of that is just kind of being giddy about this new information that you're getting. Dro. Eve, you automatically recognize that Dro is reading and Hasport. And Hasport just continues. He's pretty oblivious. But Dro, from Hasport and Eve, like everything that you're hearing from them, nothing about this place, their demeanor, their verbiage, or their hospitality or anything is speaking anything remotely political. These two are fanatics. But that fanaticism has absolutely nothing to do with you. They are massively obsessive with rafts, like, and you can tell by like the state of the workshop. It is so messy. Like, it is, everything is put everywhere, and the vibe of this place is very much so, if it doesn't help progress the understanding of things further, and it doesn't provide any new information, it's really not worth a lot of time. It probably includes cleaning. But Eve, you register these.
We're all
You
just
thought what?
we're all just standing in the middle, right?
No, he's summoned
Yeah,
a table,
right?
and he's like in the middle of the ritual cast for Heroes Feast, and in the middle of it he stops and says, "Any requests for the food and beverage?"
Some sashimi.
Certainly.
I'm going to need a good amount of tea.
Black or herbal?
Oh, let's not dilute it. Let's go with black.
Certainly. And we've got some of the best sashimi you can handle. Creatures in the lake are frankly delicious. And he continues on, and within another minute or two, he has generated an incredible spell in front of you. He finishes it, and like what is a plain table is suddenly like flushed with tablecloth, decorations, little bobbing motes of light inside of little glass orbs, and there's a scent of fresh bread and seared meats, deeply brewed black tea, and herbs galore. And each of you has your requested item if you did request one. But it looks
Argo's still
fabulous.
staring at the globe that he summoned.
Well, so moving on. Yes, we can. This shows the active graphs that are currently and give me an intelligence check to anybody who's like taking in the globe.
It's not letting me roll anything.
Yeah, I can't. Oh, there it goes.
Oh, there it
Okay,
is.
it's just taking a moment.
Why? Why? Ugh.
Do you have a sorcery point or
I have
inspiration?
nothing. No, because we haven't rested. We fought monks a couple hours ago. They're pretty lights on the map. She is focused on writing down all the locations that she sees.
Sure. Yeah, you're kind of like a little bit starstruck. You were. I think Margot was probably thinking of like maybe there's like a little spell, or maybe there's like something that can do this. She was not expecting, she was maybe thinking like very early stage prototype, maybe this is a thing, and she got no, the big thing's done. Like it's far more arcana concentrated in one area that you've probably ever seen. This is the most complex device of magical energy and engineering and probably luck and whimsy that your eyes have ever laid eyes. Eyes have ever laid eyes. That you have ever seen. And you're a little starstruck for a moment. Well, let me see, 14, 12, 10. You guys see between about a very rough guess and estimate, and some of them wink out, some of them show up. And so it's kind of like a series of stars are popping around the planets. Some of them stay in pulse for a while. Some of them show up for a moment and then disappear. Some of them seem to be staying open. And there's probably across the planet maybe rough estimates 120 to like 160 at a time. Somebody roll me 3d100 altogether.
I'm scared to touch the dice.
There's no way.
Wow.
Wow. You didn't even go above 100.
See, this is why I
What is
should
this?
never roll D100 ever.
Kill us.
Okay. Okay, that's pretty drastically in the opposite direction of what I was thinking. So, we're going the other way. As you guys are sitting here and staring at this, Haspel kind of pops up and like, oh, that's fascinating. And you see something not on board data, but on the southwesternmost continent. Instead of light, you see this line that's probably like a quarter of the way into the continent, kind of a zigzag. Looks kind of like a river. It's not lit, it goes black. And instead of emitting light, it sucks it in. It's like, feels like there's a downward slope and all the light is slowly draining. And then it kind of pops. and that river is gone from the map. Huh. Wonder what a river has to get ejected. So, yes, we can track them.
Can you track? Gosh, I don't even know where that graft was going when we closed it. Can I roll a very probably disadvantage, which is not great for me, history check or something to see if I could? Did we see what was on the other side of the graft?
You saw
Oh.
you saw a little bit, and you had the highest amount of concentration on that because everybody else was fighting when you were like locked in.
Oh.
I'm not even going to give it to you at disadvantage. You're welcome to roll your history check.
Ugh. Could have been worse.
12. You saw planes of fire, and a fire giant came through, and so did like a pool of fire elementals. Quick guess is it was some sort of plane that was completely attuned to fire. Margot, give me an Arcana check. See, has Margot ever spent time, maybe she has, researching other realms? So you're familiar with, okay, I'll get, that'll work. Imagine in your time of trying to figure out what the hell the Quarry were and what they were doing, you looked into the different realities of the world. And you understood that there are multiple layers of reality kind of condensed over one planet. There's some sort of do not enter or do not pass go sign surrounding the entirety of the planet. You cannot leave. But there are alternative variations of the planets that are kind of stuck side by side inside of that same do not pass go sign. That's Aeon's version of multiverse, essentially. But you have also come across records of people who came into Aeon and described what the different realms of reality were like outside of Aeon from kind of a newbie's perspective. And there are entire worlds, possibly even entire realities, that are dedicated to elements, technology, or other themes. And so Aeon doesn't have a fire realm. But somewhere else beyond Aeon does, and you think you saw something like that.
Track the origin, or track them based on the origin to here.
It is something that we keep records of, and we record the mystical energies that we feel from them.
What if we gave you something from a different plane that came through the graph, the plane we're trying to track, and you're able to create some kind of sensor, so if any time a graft opens to that plane, it triggers like a warning or something, and we can direct towards the graft.
That is interesting.
like a it's a thing you
what?
need in planar transport.
Tuning fork.
Like a tuning fork, yes.
We have done that before. And it largely depends on the object itself. What do you have in mind?
Do we still have the eye? Or some of that obsidian? Yaslin?
I'm sorry, could you repeat the question?
Do we have any of the obsidian from the fire flower?
Yeah. Yeah. I do.
We have some parts of a creature that came through the graft.
We do?
We could create a sensor that perhaps we could carry with us on our travels to locate these grafts. And maybe if we can work on some kind of device to quickly close grafts too, that would be very helpful.
What you're asking for is most welcome. The energy signature and finding that is something that can be done. May I see the piece of the creature you're referring to? Let's see, like, it takes like kind of like a loaf of bread, like what essentially would be a giant bread bowl, and in like one bite he takes about 60% of it. And sets it down and puts his hand out. So, Yaslin, do you fish out the obsidian in your bag?
With some reluctance because it is 4 obsidian
Reluctant.
spear heads attached to the spears. I'm like,
Or if you have the eyeball? Was the eyeball also something we had?
I don't know.
I
if
think
the eyeball
Nora.
in my
I think Nora had that.
Nora had the eyeball. Fuck yeah, got easy obsidian.
I thought. No, Nora only dropped her guns, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's right. Okay. It looks so that this came off of a creature.
It was.
The obsidian did?
Didn't it come off? Wasn't it like its
Yeah,
scale?
it was like it's amphibious armor essentially. And as you fought it, like pieces of it cracked off and fell.
Because we hit it with water too.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Interesting. And he pulls out essentially what is kind of like a monocle, but it's like a multifaceted monocle. Attaches it to himself and leans over to Eve and starts waving his hand and like writing sigils across it, and like little new runes begin to kind of inscribe. My dear, what you do, Mars? And Eve, you can redirect what output that spell had up into the dome above.
She does it, and it looks like the kind of Aurora paint. Like the rest of her magic.
Kind of takes and globulous up and kind of disperses into the energy around the sphere itself. And all of the other things kind of wink out. There's about 4 on the planet that remain. And it's not an exact copy, but we look for things that are similar in nature. Those are what we currently have. And there is one over on the far eastern side of the Empire. Gotta get my handy dandy map. Margot, give me a history check to see if you can identify where this is. And I think I said in the Empire, but that's not quite right. It's on the continent of the Empire. 16. Okay, you know your home's geography well enough. They're referring to the Glasslands. Like, that is very specifically, like, in the plateau that is the Glasslands. And the Glasslands are, it's this risen plateau that is also volcanic. Like, the entire flatness of it kind of has these small volcanoes. It's like the tips of the volcanoes come up, and most of it's down below. And the entire plateau, it is the size of a large country, this place. And it's incredibly volcanic, and the Empire's been trying to conquer it forever. But there are fireworks there that push back very hard. And they thrive in that space. And one of the borders of the Kirvan Empire is starting to kind of warp around it, with that plateau being in the center. As they continue to conquer around it, they're not able to penetrate. Another one is straight up in the middle of the ocean.
Interesting.
There's one in the bottom of Bordea as well, kind of around the peninsula where it kind of hooks back around. And let's see, that was a 16 on history. Who's got high perception?
Probably Yaslin. I think Warden, if I remember correctly.
The +3.
Wait, passive perception or modifier?
Passive.
Oh yeah, I have a 16.
16.
I think Warden's higher than us. I think.
Warden, what's your passive? Oh, I think Warden's 17. I think we established that last time. Yeah, 17. Dro. Are you paying attention?
I think at this point, yeah.
Okay, and are you looking up at the globe?
Yes.
As you're looking at it, you're just kind of taking it in. This is a lot. This is further advanced magical technology than you could have even wildly hoped for. And it's right in front of you. So it takes you a moment to notice, but you do after a little bit. The final pit is in the very northernmost location. Meaning it's here. You're the first to notice. Because you're the one with high perception, and you're the one that's actually familiar with the map the most. So you have the least amount of processing to look at the map and be like, yeah, that's home.
Think unintentionally you would tell Margot one's here.
It's small.
How exact can you get? Can you make an area larger to track a graph to its exact location, or are these general areas?
You a little generalized. We do have some other to zoom in, but the resources to do so are quite intensive. My tower, and he points to like one of the windows that's like currently in a wall, or like what would be a window, but really it's just like a arch in the wall, but there's no glass, is upside down and like currently like spinning inside of the wall of stone, and like repositioning itself elsewhere in the tower. And he points at it. He's like, it's not for show. The tower is designed to consistently rearrange itself to pull in whatever energies are currently flowing through the aurora and the gaps between realities. Those energies directly feed this, as well as other contraptions. The tower is really just an energy storage. And we can use some of that power to zoom in, but to be more specific is highly intensive, as the energies are more unstable when we try to zoom in up close. Why do you ask?
So you just said something interesting. You said the auroras and gaps in the reality, right? And a graph is kind of a tunnel between realities. When I got here, I saw like other worlds in the sky. I'm not sure. I could see it in the aurora.
Yes.
Other realities.
You shouldn't
Could you perhaps amplify my ability and my vision to narrow in on a specific graph, so I could act as a conduit to identify its exact location, given what I'm able to do?
He strokes the beard on his trunk. How exactly did you see those? They are invisible to the naked eye.
I can do that for a little while. I can't do it today. I need to sleep. I could show you tomorrow, but is it a possibility for someone who can look across
You can see the
realities?
Ethereum.
Yes.
Give me moments. I and my colleagues and many who study it do have the ability for true sight, but it's magical or equipment based. None of us have an innate ability to do so. Your innate ability seems strong if you're able to see that. Now, so you're looking to amplify your ability to look up and see the sky and see how thin it is between here and elsewhere.
No, if there was a way to, I don't know, amplify my ability to find the graph, or to act as a conduit to zoom in on a particular location to identify exactly where that graph was. I'm not sure how your sensor works, but you're the scientist here.
Right. And may I ask what the need is? I do see that we have a graph here. That's
Yes.
certainly not uncommon, especially one of
The concern is the location it's tied to. We would like to investigate this graph in particular. you could come along and perhaps I could show you how I close to it.
I haven't answered that question yet, have I? Certainly. So, just a moment. He looks up and he begins to cast something new. Turns to Eve. Let's put the 13th observation on hold while we recover some of this energy. And that's he's talking about a specific project. One of the ones that's lower on the list, that he's about to consume more energy that he had allocated for elsewhere, and he's going to redirect it for this. And he goes up and he begins to zoom it in, and you get the picture of Aurora's Rest. And the graft is in the entertainment district. And he zooms in and looks at it, and the entertainment district on the map seems to have like a little bit of like real-time visualization to it. Let me see what time it is. It's just one. Okay. There's a sense of stillness in the entertainment district. Almost nobody is out. And the graph is glowing. It's almost a pinpoint. Even as he zooms in, there seems to be like, when he's in the zoomed out like world mode, there seems to be like a minimum size. And as he zooms in, that minimum size stays and stays and stays and stays and stays until, you're only looking at about a 4-block radius until it finally begins to expand. That's interesting. This one's particularly small. But it's in the entertainment district. Come on. Largely between some of the theaters and centered between theaters, gambling halls, arenas. And look, he takes it and he moves it, the picture, and the picture is no longer a globe. It's more like the sphere kind of stopped showing anything on top and just shows everything on bottom, and he begins to move it around, almost like a rounded screen. And as he moves it, that's very cool. It's above ground. And I don't mean it's not buried. I mean it's in the sky, and you guys can see it. So as it kind of zooms in, as he swivels it, it seems to be gone into the maximum depth of detail that it can. And there's a little pinpoint that's slightly above like the tallest building, and it's like hovering. Maybe if the height of the building is probably hovering 2x that building. Small and floating. That's certainly abnormal for something of fire-related draft.
Is it still large enough for things to come through?
Yes. Most crafts are... Rephrasing. This is about the size of a regular door. Enough for a person to come through, or things that are smaller.
But it's floating in the sky above. How far up? Can we tell? Or do we have to go? Because
Hard to say.
it might be a problem.
That's one of the multi-layered dance halls. Eve, have you been to the entertainment district lately? I don't go.
Yes. Of course.
You know this one is it's basically like it's this it's this cool very vertical building that is just like layers and layers and layers and layers of like dance halls. And like there's little like teleportation circles all over the place. Even like littered into the ground in the dance halls. And so you can only ever step on one of the circles when its corresponding circle elsewhere in the building is also vacant. And so you can like people like randomly like dance around and jump on these things, and they're like they don't get teleported, then they just kind of move on. And like so you have different people like switching all throughout the building, and there's different styles of dance all over the place. And that's the tallest building that he's talking about in that particular area. You're a smart person, so by your estimation, it's probably like maybe this is Morgan not actually knowing how tall architecture is.
Floor.
It's so it's about 10 stories or so, or no, it's 11 stories, and so this is about another 9 to 10 stories above that. So yeah, so about
100 feet in the sky.
20 stories up.
Is it common for graphs to be that high up? I've mostly ever seen them on the ground.
It's not uncommon, but usually it's things that are more astral-based or air-based to be that high.
That seemed kind of unusually cruel of Aeon to have a terrestrial being be grafted into the planet. Couple 100 feet up off the ground. That's a quick way to end their time on Aeon.
I don't know, it picks some creatures of air that can't fly.
Right. And even that in that moment you guys like start to see the graft begins to pulse. It's the same size, but the intensity of the light jolts up a couple of degrees.
That's scary.
Honestly, most graphs are harmless. It's Aeon's process of bringing in perhaps a new unique species as a mated pair that will propagate in a certain area. Or bringing in a hero from one location. Sometimes the graft opens invisibly and all it transports is a new type of bacteria. Grafts can bring anything into our world. Now, I must ask, what is the concern with this?
What? What do you know of the elementals?
Considering we heard the name of the Hand of Shadow yesterday, I assume we're talking about the cardinal elements.
Yes, the courts.
Not as much as I would like. They have very little to do with the study of graphs.
They may have more to do than you think.
They came in via graphs, as many know, for the creation of this world. And they were some of the first things, those I have studied. What they've done since their arrival, that is the study of some of my colleagues.
Well, we believe that fire has found a use for grafts in attempting to overtake water and hopes to bring war against the other elements.
Well, that's the first I'm hearing of that. That is something that is extraordinarily important, and something that I feel like I should have known a little bit of. Don't mind me spitting out a little bit of my food as I talk. I should have known that quite a while ago. Shit.
Yes, well, the graft I closed was being held open by a fire djinn, and in the process of fighting this being and all the creatures coming through the graft and closing the graft, the water djinn was lost in the combat. Right? I'm not misremembering that, right? Yeah. And we know it threatens.
Small detail change is the graft was so big and powerful, and because of the way that it had kind of weakened that domain of water, the water djinn was trying to keep it from spreading further, and it could, and so the fire djinn was trying to get what was inside of it, and you and the water djinn were trying to close it. So just a slight variation on what you said.
So explain that instead.
Cool.
But I do still say we lost the water djinn. He did not survive that encounter.
And Passport drops his wine on the table. My apologies. You've met Benfax. And Entrios was lost.
And the two others were there as well, but they did not stay for the end of combat. They left before. The earth and the air were there, trying to help the water, but
This is marvelously bad.
we had I'm gonna look at Joe.
And Hasport's attention is absolutely gone from the table. Oh, by the way, anybody who is eating, after about an hour of conversation, which I'd say you guys are well past, you are cured of all diseases and poison, and you become immune to poisons and being frightened. You have advantage on saving or on wisdom saving throws, and where's my dice?
How does this impact Warden's sobriety?
Warden,
Immune to poison.
you are sober again.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
which
Just
is
in time for
weird.
all of this information.
Uh
Time
oh.
to play a different
Uh-oh.
character.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, Warden, as you're going through this meal and like drinking your black tea, the effects of the food and the drink should be persisting, and instead it's like the more that you imbibe, the less buzzy you are. And eventually, like, it kind of like all snaps into place, and you are indeed once more fully sober and awake.
Gordon's having a shit night. Immediately sober, gets drunk. Immediately sober, starts drinking again. Like,
I think forcing sobriety on Warden is going to be like a
True.
like a sub quest on every episode.
Oh god.
Just in time to hear about the war.
Oh jeez.
the war.
Okay, and
Whew.
everybody gets 13 maximum hit points as well. And this all lasts for 24 hours. Warden, you cannot get drunk for 24 hours.
Doesn't mean he won't try. There's a reason we drink.
But try some harder drugs.
The last person I met who I thought was tripping on drugs, which was, the mastodon in front of me, elephant person, I think that's the right term for it. Maybe a mastodon is a dog. I don't remember. But anyways, last person I met who I thought was on drugs was not on drugs. And I kind of wish he was. Because now I'm learning that there's a world war, and that's not fun.
No. Certainly not. So, yeah. The revelation of war, and Hasport looks at you and says, "Please speak in specifics. I need to know what's happening so I can reach out to those who need help."
We have. Rosette, tell him if we need to. We have with us right now the champion of water and champion of air. And we fought these beings in the ripples, which set most of the Ripple Mountains on fire. Many beings we fought, a giant fiery salamander. The Kieran helped us with that one. And then we fought the fire, as I told you, and he was trying to pull through more beings. Which we managed to stop, but we did not kill him in the end. He is still out there.
And do you imagine that is what they're trying to do with these other crafts of the same nature? They're trying to pull in powerful reinforcements to aid them in their cause while Entrails is off the plane.
I would not be surprised. That's why it's a bit concerning that there is one here.
Most of them here, especially when they're of the nature of fire, they're quickly snuffed out as the energies of this northernmost part of the world, civilized world, are almost diametrically opposed. Where a graft can show up is somewhere between entirely random and circumstantial. The cold, very often, when something small comes through, and the cold energies here, let's wipe it out. So,
This is also an area of great technological advancement. They could have sent someone through seeking allies and support much in the same way we are. If we are doing this, if we are seeking support, gaining allies, building a force to fight them, what's to say they are not doing the same?
She has a point. I think she's right.
How many other people know about this?
I don't think it's common knowledge. Certainly the ripples.
But the Ripples was burned. Are there
Most
survivors?
Yes.
Yes, good. Well, I know I don't get much of a say as the hired bodyguard, but as the champion of air, I think it might be a good idea to immediately leave for the air temple in Warnet.
The what?
The air temple. The temple of air. Right, so there's a place with a whole bunch of people who work and fight and protect the elements of air. And this is the place that I hail from, and a place that is, well, I kind of hail from, whatever, we'll get into that later. But a place that is instrumental in protecting the world from, bad stuff happening to it. And if there are graphs that are showing up in the air, well, that is something that the people who are in charge of defending the air should know.
That's a good point. We should get what the resource is and research we need here and handle what business we need to handle here. And then that might be a good next stop.
The fact that 3 champions are in this city right now.
3?
That's a higher number than 2. Who's the third?
In the hall that we had ran in, I caught a glimpse of an individual, and the feeling that I got from them was polar opposite of myself, and that being the water. And they are aware of the same.
So they are likely here, as I said, looking for resources, allies in the same way you are.
I'm afraid to say yes.
What if we closed off their graft so that they would have to find a long way around back? I could do it, I just need to get to the top of that building. I need to sleep first. I don't have the power right now, but if I get to the top of that building, I can shut that graft and trap them here. Or at least they would have to find physical means of travel.
Well, what if there's a far more catastrophic event that has been planned? If you said that they opened grafts in the Ripple Mountains and it proceeded to burn the mountain, why not just, I don't know, attack and conquer a city full of technology and airships, and use that as a primary capital to launch an attack on, I don't know, the world?
I mean, the Emperor tried that for years. The Aurora's Rest is not one that falls so easily. They are better befriended as allies than they are fought.
Does the Empire slash and burn everything it comes across? Think carefully about that answer.
Negotiations.
Right. So,
Total sidebar. As she's thinking about how to describe it, I'm like, the Empire's motto as a country is blood in, blood out.
But like everybody at the table turned and looked at Marco.
It's not the goal. It's not the preferred method, but it has been employed.
right. So from your knowledge of the Empire, I'm going to take the wild guess that you might work for the Empire, or at least have strong connections to them. Especially since you said that you might get amnesty earlier.
I Yes, I do. I don't see how that's relevant to the war with fire right now that we're discussing.
Well, here's the thing. If we assist in defeating fire and ensuring that they don't do whatever they're trying to do in Aurora's Rest, that might leave Aurora's Rest open to the Empire. Especially if whatever fire does is mildly catastrophic. I don't really care about Aurora's Rest, it's just a place. However, I can see how, I don't know, the people who are hiring me in Aurora's Rest might care a little bit more about this place. Especially the big woolly person right here who I assume has connections there, and all of the monks that have the ability to send you into, I don't know, a different dimension or send you your soul outside of your body, whatever they're doing. I assume a lot of the people that we've just met would really care if fire and or the Empire attempted to encroach on their freedoms. But maybe I'm just speaking out of my bug ass.
So now the Empire is involved in this as well.
No, I kind of, in a way, I was sent to investigate the imbalance in the ripples, and some stuff has happened since that, it's not my main goal right now.
I believe we're speaking in a bit of a circle. Forgive me for being brazen here. We must contact one of my compatriots. Give me a moment. And you see him turn to his side and he puts his finger up to his head. And he after a moment he comes back and says, "I'll be $1 would be yours." Give me a history check at advantage. It's a pretty low DC.
Who?
I'll be $1.
Who are you asking for the history check from?
Oh, Eve.
Oh, Eve. Okay.
While this
Is it at
conversation,
advantage?
That's at advantage, yeah.
while this conversation is going on, can I roll a perception check as I'm walking around looking, particularly to see, I guess it'd be more investigation, for the same emblem that I saw on the rug in the weapon shop that we went to.
Got it. Yeah, go ahead and roll me an investigation there.
That's a working class 20 for Eve.
Did you just say working class 20?
I did.
Nice. Okay. I'll be $1 Mandor. While Passport is kind of the premier expert on graphs, he really doesn't take too much interest. I mean, he has some baseline knowledge that a master level mage would have, which is the conversation so far. But he's absolutely not the expert here. The expert here on essentially creation, creationism in inside the Grand Athenium is Albiadala Mandor. She is a hybrid excuse me, my brain's a little fritzing. She's a hybrid Genasi. She has blood of every type. And you know that and she's on friendly terms. You and she typically get along very well because of your aesthetic preferences. You guys are both very visual types. And it doesn't take very long until there's a new person who like pops in like, to the gate, just basically like winks in, and you see this woman with dark skin, and she has like glowing and constantly changing dreadlocks that represent like the different elemental energies, and you see like little crackles of like electricity like run through her veins, or like on her hands, like a little ripple of like vein fire, like her there's little like elemental like twitches that are happening all around her body. She pops in. Passport, I was in the middle of something. What is it that you want?
B, you're gonna love this.
Eve, what is it? What is it you have you doing now?
Are my veins still black? Do I still look fucked up?
You're healed up after like this long of a conversation, and like after the heroes feast, that healing has receded, and you've definitely like had a healing potion. So you look off. When is he going to let you sleep? Right?
When the work's done, we have
Also,
time.
never. Also, who are these people? Hello, people.
They just told us about war between fire and water.
Well, there's always a war between fire and water. I mean, they're always. It's like, but both sides are always like perfectly synergized, and no one can get a foothold, and so it's like the immovable spirit.
That doesn't sound synergized.
What? What?
It sounds like the water djinn might be dead. What they said.
You see this woman in white, literally. All the color fades from her face. And the dreads up top go like dry, dusty color. And she looks like she's been smacked or like hit in the head with a hammer. She like drops down, lands on her butt on the ground. What did you say?
These lovely people just mentioned the water djinn had died. Was killed while fighting the fire djinn. Oh, these are also champions right here, apparently. Champion of water and air?
She sucks, like, all that color, like, sucks back into her face. She, like, gets up, it's like... Okay. We're going to have a long conversation starting right now. What exactly is happening? How is Entrios dead? How did the Infect survive? How do you know about this? And how the fuck are you two champions? And she looks, no insight needed, she looks utterly bewildered. She looks like a groupie who just, like, got front row tickets to the Beatles, Elvis, and, like, every great dead musician all performing at the same time. That is the level of, like, gobsmacked she has on her face.
That's a lot of questions. Which one do you want answered first?
Champions? No. Champions? Of what?
Well,
She
that's
kind of
easy.
closes her eyes and you see her like... you have so many figures around you. Just start talking or my head is going to implode. My name is Biada. Hello, nice to meet you. Formalities, etc. We'll cover the rest later. Now.
Right. Well, full name Warden of Air, title Champion of Air, and this right here is my insignia. He pulls out from the opposite breast pocket as his flask, and he'll lay it down on the ground. He'll say, "That indicates me as a Champion of Air, and as you can see, I am the Champion of Air." That's the easiest way to put it, without the whole backstory and all that.
And she stops and kind of looks at you. She's gonna do a Champion of Air. I've never heard of you.
Well, I don't know what to tell you there. That one's kind of on you.
I know the current roster of everyone who is currently considered the champion. I don't have either of you on my radar.
Well, insignia. He points to the insignia, and then I'll pick it up and put it back in his jacket.
Yes, that clearly is the insignia. And she runs through. Anyways, you. And she looks at Joe.
Zero has just been looking out, wandering and looking for that emblem. I doubt he finds it with the 10.
What about the Ember?
That's as this conversation has been going, he's been walking through the area.
Oh, gotcha. Different emblem. No, this place is pretty much in disarray. There's a lot going on in this conversation. You're not seeing it.
Still walking and talking. I don't have a fancy thing. I have a sword. Name is Dro, and you mentioned you're not familiar. It's, at least with my case, this is very, very new, and it was very spontaneous.
But Mother hasn't had a champion in well over a decade. Yeah, somewhat hilariously, the water champion titles are all but dried up. No one's been deemed worthy in quite some time. But it's not a position that is typically in such power that it can actually distort the balance between fire and water. So how did the rise of a new champion result in the death of Ventrios?
Warden is gonna go ahead and just like peer over at Dro, like, "Oh yes, do spell the T. I'd love to hear it."
He was the one. He pulled Zotwakir's sword from the gravesite, and then we fought in trios.
May I see the blade?
Hand it over.
She
Hesitantly.
grabs it. She grabs it and her eyes kind of like flash, like multicolored, as she's like casting multiple versions of detect magic, sense aura. Like she's running through like the full magic gamut of like, hey, check this out. Just impressive. I thought it meant I could inform my people. Welcome to the moment. Sans. Did I get your name?
You just mentioned recording that into the records.
Yes.
May I ask that you wait to do that?
It'd have to be a pretty damned good reason to delay that. We were talking about the continuing story of creation in this world.
Can't say shit.
Passport, how do you know them?
Fuck.
I quite literally ran into them on the street. Right, so they're essentially strangers, claiming to know of things that even my own people don't. And the only reason I'm still listening at this point is because you have Zaprokir's sword.
Well, what if... Wow, that's the wrong accent. What if, is there no way we can prove it to you? Perhaps Eve can do the same thing she did before and confirm it as truth?
Eve, what did you do?
I just did a little legend lore. I guess it didn't go the way I thought. I don't remember it, actually, which is weird because I typically remember it.
He sits back a little bit, like smacks Hasport up the side of the head, and it's a tall reach. This woman is like 5'4", 5'5". She's about Margot's height. Hasport,
Taller than me, but... It's okay.
She did it on
Abby,
her own.
it's okay. I wanted to help. I can do it again. I just need the supplies. I can look into the champions and name all of them. And then we can confirm that these two are champions and get the names of the other two.
How often do you check your records?
Frankly, about every 3 minutes. It's a common protocol.
Well, it's very interesting that we've shown you proof and you immediately distrust us after showing proof. Naturally, I completely understand that, as trusting people can be very difficult, especially with the line of work that most of us tend to be in. With that being said, it's very strange to show up to somebody else's place, immediately cast distrust on strangers who have shown reasonable proof, and start hitting the owner of the tower.
Oh, he doesn't even get it.
What? What? That's extraordinarily rude. If I were to walk up to someone and hit them, I'm sure that they would feel it.
You gotta
That's not
have
the
it,
proper way to
Dro.
conduct oneself.
Dro slightly glances at Yasin when Horton says that.
Yaslin just kind of like isn't looking. She's like, me? me? Ah.
Give us a moment, please. She turns around to Hasport and Eve. Boy,
I trust them.
please tell what?
They told us mostly the truth of everything so far. I mean, they've left some things out, but
We have a dead steward.
yes. From what they say, it sounds like it's not going well. And apparently the champion of fire is in the city as well, from what Dro said. Which they're concerned he might be gathering allies and resources to fight against everyone else.
Magadaranapatay! It's some language that we do not understand. And it's like very clearly cuss. The blood of all my ancestors. This better be the real thing.
I could do it. I could confirm it if you'd like.
Sure, knock yourself out. You have a lot to learn. As a researcher,
Has Porter need all the supplies he can?
you still have the ivory in your bag. The ivory is not consumed when the spell is cast. But the
I need
incense,
like 250 worth of incense.
yeah, it's easy enough. It's over on the shelf.
Alright. Give me 10 minutes and I will verify your names for Albie.
While that happens, Margot, in your head, do you think it's a good idea for them to put my name in the records of the city?
I don't think that they're talking necessarily about city records, but more academic records. Also, if you're listed as the champion of water, perhaps that will hold more bearing protecting you legally. You might have all these wizards advocating for your pardon because of your new line of work.
Can I roll an insight to see how much she believes in what she just said?
Yeah, feel free.
Oh my god. Let me see how bad. I don't think I can hold that well. Yeah, I absolutely believe this is the best course of action right now.
Holy shit.
Not a bad idea at all. It's getting more allies on our side.
And just waiting for them to ask why we were still being chased.
Give me a moment, guys.
Warden's gonna go ahead and... Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. But Joe's also gonna look at Warden a little bit. Because if I remember correctly, Warden said he's been champion for a little bit now. I think we had in a quick discussion, if I remember correctly.
At least 5 years.
And the fact that she says she has no clue.
So, during this time, Warden is going to go ahead and speak a little bit loudly and say, I was about to go Scottish. Hold on. I was about to go just way down here. And that's just not the voice.
Warden! Could you imagine?
That sober Warden is just straight Scottish.
Oh,
And suddenly
God.
he gets like, suddenly just based on the accent, he gets like a +4 to strength.
Which would be incredible for his stats. Warden is going to speak up and attempt a persuasion check. And he's going to say, well, I don't know about the rest of you, but 10 minutes seems like quite a long time. And the fact that we've seen the Champion of Fire, and we don't actually know where he is right now, he could be off doing something nefarious. And in these 10 minutes, if we don't go and find him now, he could do something catastrophic that we might never be able to come back from.
I love the idea, but Warden, I have nothing left. I need to sleep. I truly cannot face.
I mean, I'm good to go.
The three wizards are in their own little corner, right? Not paying attention to us?
Yeah, more or less. They're talking over there. This is kind of simultaneously happening. Seamus, Yaslin, what are you two up to? Both of you have been remarkably quiet also. Well, just noticed the new background. Bravo / I'm now hungry.
Yeah, Seamus has just been eating, I think, and listening and watching. You know, he's not one of these champions of elements or cardinal directions, but he's definitely curious about this globe and the graft that's open in town here. He's noticing that Dro is acting aloof as usual, so that doesn't seem too out of place. But yeah, just taking it in.
I think Yaslin's in a pretty similar boat, mainly because like the study of like arcana and fancy wizard shit just isn't her vibe at all. So she's like, whatevs, I don't know what they're talking about.
She's like, she's like anime eating, where she takes like a sandwich that's like this long and like eats it in one bite.
Yeah, pretty much she's just devouring. When she hears like, let's go after somebody, she's like, oh, let's go after somebody, I'm up for that.
Let's go fight. Who we talking about?
Yeah, who we fighting? Fire champion?
Okay.
Can I do something before they finish?
Oh, what's up? Is that a shaved puppy? Or a recently trimmed puppy, rather?
Yeah, last week.
Oh, what's up, buddy? You look so sweet. He seems like he's calmed down a bit.
Yeah,
Is that-
until anything. Yeah, until he sees anything basically move.
Gotcha. Oh, what's up, buddy?
He's so cute.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Dro, what do you think?
And oh, is the mind link still up at this whole time?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. Margot. Warden's attention to this is interesting. Can you do me a favor and keep his attention for a couple seconds?
Attention to distract him is what you're asking?
Preferably.
Ah, I absolutely can try. Walk up to Warden. So Warden, how would you feel about us resting before we fight this great fire, champion? Do you think we're safe resting here, or would you rather return to your ship? Tell
Is
me.
this spoken or is this mind link?
It's spoken. It's
Okay.
spoken.
Well, I do believe that if we are going to rest, then we should return to the ship. But for those of us who are ready and capable to go fighting, such as our friend Yaslin,
Hey.
he says, extremely uncertain because he's barely spoken to her. It's like Legolas and Frodo,
She,
where
like,
Frodo
she-
doesn't know Legolas's name because they never spoke to each other once.
She took like an arrow to the foot, but she's fine.
Is that a thing about
always
Legolas and
ready to fight?
Frodo?
It's a
Can I
running
fight?
joke.
Huh.
What
know
am
that, like,
fighting?
Two women never spoke together in Lord of the Rings.
There is one line between women, but yes.
Not in the movies. at
Oh,
least.
sorry. Yeah, I know the movies a hell of a lot more than I know the books. The books, they're good.
Okay.
I'm just-
Cool. Yes, Dro, do the thing that you were just saying. Make it private.
That's-
Oh my gosh, this scene is. There's a lot of things going on here.
Is since it's that thing, is it advantage?
No.
What was that?
What the?
I secretly cast fireball on the
Oh,
group.
that.
Fireball.
Thought for sure that was going to be your distraction.
Look, Warden over there!
I
Fireball!
told you guys, I'm out of spells. I can't
All right.
fireball right now.
Look,
I don't even
Warden
have
over
score
there!
3 points.
Cantrip.
I'm hearing a lot of dice getting rolled here. I'm making me a little nervous.
I cast
nothing.
Wish and wish everyone else out of existence, so I win. my like ninth
Listen.
level hunter or whatever the hell we are, 10.
I'm ready to fight. I can't say the same for the rest of you.
Okay.
I think you're muted.
I am not. Yeah, I have said repeatedly, I'm still not ready to fight, which is why I recommended resting.
Yeah.
And-
true.
There's a lot of behind the scenes conversation happening right now.
Well, what
And
when was the last
So-
time we rested?
$1 comes back.
Before we went shopping.
So we went
Yeah.
shopping, went to the bar. It's been a while then.
We
Okay.
fought the monks
Yeah.
again.
We fought the monks.
We fought the monks. Yeah, but
We
Do
ran
we
from
have-
the police.
don't we have to meet up with Joe's people? Do we have
At some
time?
point,
Do we have time
don't
to
know.
sleep?
Wait, what? Rose people.
you have some kind of meeting.
Yeah, you had a
You guys
meeting.
don't know that.
No, we don't. But out of character, if
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
sleeping. Okay. That might
That's
be a
in 2
problem.
days. That's the
Well,
problem.
we have time to sleep. We have time
Okay,
to
we have
sleep.
time. So it's not like we're on like a
No.
time crunch. We got a little bit of time. Okay.
Right. Eve, if you would like to, you are welcome to use the spell. This is about the largest day I have ever had in my entire work time. This is the most gigantic bomb anybody has ever dropped for me. There's so much that I need to review and check out. Yes, we can absolutely talk about this. I need to go back to my own damn tower and figure out what is happening and verify as much of this as I can. That may take some time. Passport, how long is that carafe going to stay open? And he looks at it and he's... my best estimation, it's stable for now. It's at the point where it might not even be visible, and it's supplying the energy for whatever is going to come through. Once that happens, the graft will likely start breaking down as usual.
But Miss
Right,
Margot
so
said
we-
she could see them and close them.
Does Margot ask that out loud?
Eve said that about Margot.
Oh, Eve said that. Excellent. So Eve, your understanding of graphs, there is a period of time where graphs open and they're kind of like invisible, as
Mhm.
like they take a certain amount of critical mass and to actually like show up and pour something out of them. And this one, as Hasport said, you can also tell with your studies, this one is still in that essentially kind of new embryo sort of state as a
Would
graft.
someone with true sight be able to see it though?
It is possible, although it's not that it's an illusion, it's just not thick enough yet to come through, is more of what it is. So you can start to see, so if somebody was staring at it with true sight, whether that was Margot or whether that was somebody with true seeing cast on them, they would start to see the buildup of something, but it's not quite there. A little bit like, if you fill up your sink and then you undo the plug, there's a spiral happening the whole time, but it's not until it gets a little bit lower that the funnel actually begins to form and somebody can see it.
Before you leave, as she's, I'm guessing, looking like she's trying to get out.
Yeah, and you can see her she's
going to cast Minor Illusion and display what I saw the fire champion look like. If this helps any, this is the individual that I saw. And when he saw me, he took off in the other direction. So this might be beneficial, at least to keep a lookout for an individual like this.
Good thoughts, thank you. Eve, are you going to do the spell?
Yes. Okay. She's casting it.
Okay, what are you casting on?
I'm casting Legend Lore on Dro to find out how he became the champion.
Oh, I thought
To
that was
verify that
going.
he's the champion.
Eve sits down, begins the ritual. This is a 10-minute process, so if there's any interjection before that completes, speak now. Otherwise, we will roll into it as this like rapid, multifaceted conversation is happening.
The only thing that Warden is going to do is just be a little bit louder with the clanking of plates and noises in a hope to distract concentration.
So is he sitting there like toddler style?
Yes,
You're not
exactly. He's
Spell.
he's just a little bit louder than normal. One of his additional hands might reach up to grab a fork, and then oh, whoops! Ah, shoot! That wasn't supposed to slide off the plate. Can I have another plate, please? Another plate. Yeah, may I have another fork, please? I dropped mine on the ground. He says needlessly loudly.
And Nasport kind of looks at you, and a new fork like appears in their hand.
Warden is impressed.
Not a problem.
That's an impressive skill you have. Not very many
Mhm.
people can make objects like that appear from nowhere. How is Eve's eyes closed? Are they closed?
She's ritually casting. I guess I'll leave that up to Eve.
So it's not a ritual cast because that'd be 11 minutes. She's just casting it normal
Oh.
to use the spell slot because I don't have ritual caster as a bard.
Yes, that's right.
I guess I
It's just
do,
it's
but I
just a
don't have
10-minute cast time.
Yeah. But I think her eyes are open, but they're kind of like flickering with different colors. It looks like paint flowing over her eyes as she's reviewing, like visually seeing everything in the Legend Lore is giving her.
I'm gonna attempt to roll stealth for this, in the hope that nobody is able to figure out that I'm the one doing this. But in the surrounding flames, I'm going to cast the cantrip Thaumaturgy, which I just so
Okay.
happen to have for reasons. And the goal here is whatever colors I see her eyes flipping to, I want to do the opposite color on the other end of the spectrum.
Cool. Give me a sleight of hand check.
This is not stuff. Oh, why'd my dice disappear? Oh, that's why it disappeared.
Not super high.
Yeah, that's why I was hoping for stealth, but sleight of hand makes far more sense.
Yeah, sleight of hand. Here is you're trying to hide the somatic components here. Or
You know, I have inspiration, and I've had it for a while, and then I gained another inspiration, but couldn't because D&D rules. We'll go ahead and waste that inspiration on this, so that way I can get it further down the line. I'll
okay.
just unclick that. We'll press the button, and
That's a lot better.
That's
that
so
is-
much better. Does anybody have higher than a 19 on passive perception? I think the answer is no.
Only Eve, but she's casting the spell.
You could stop and waste that spell slot, but well,
That's my
Aren't
last
we-
5th level spell slot.
Aren't we looking
Oh,
at
it's
him
also not a
after he's
concentration
making
spell.
a ton of noise though?
Yeah, like
I
Warden
think
is
we're all looking at him
being
like,
Like,
fuck.
What are you
obnoxious.
doing, dude?
Like somebody
I
make
have
him
4
drunk
arms.
again.
He does have 4 arms.
He
and
does.
I am covered. I've got a big freaking
Oh.
woolly cloak
so
on me, so it's
I
like
forgot
you
about
might be
that.
able to see 3 arms, but the 4th one might be like under the table in the cloak, just like pointing at lights and stuff.
Oh, that's very fair. Go ahead and roll one more dice, because we'll say that you're doing this like at advantage with like one of your other arms that's been.
God, if only I had key points.
For which one? Sleight of
Just
hand
roll,
or-
Get real
roll the sleight of
quiet.
hand again, yeah.
Okay, you said
Just
at
one.
advantage or normal?
Yeah, just one more to
Okay, one more.
accommodate, because like you are very well hidden.
There it
There
is.
it is.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
I am having fun role playing my character tonight. Life is so good for Warden.
Oh my, and he's
Not
doing
really.
all this. And he's doing all this sober. Okay, so the cantrip, all the lanterns in the room begin to like, there's a momentary delay. Warden, you've got very good perception skills, so like you're able to like clock like what color her eyes change and then like quickly react. You're essentially casting the spell over and over and over and over to like just make it more than just like the basic effects of it, like a one cantrip. And yeah, the room does start to like flicker weirdly in like, you know, purple, yellow, blue, orange, like, and it's like white, black. It's going in like in different ways. Eve, what's happening? Something wrong with the spell.
I don't know if I can respond while I'm casting.
You can cast. You're not in a trance. It's just takes 10 minutes to complete the setup
Yeah.
and weaving of magical energies.
Everything's going fine on my end.
Right. You've not had a good track record with this spell today. Perhaps we should drop it for the moment.
Or let me do this. I can be useful. Let me do this.
And you feel like a very big, meaty hand like drop on the head for a moment. How many times do I have to tell you when you're useful? On a daily basis, every day.
It's done. I can do this. She's gonna try to keep casting it.
Okay. She's determined. The spell completes. And she kind of like locks onto Dro. And the words begin to spill out. Once more. This time, she's cognizant. Zat Dro. Current champion of water, only champion of water. Current. Gained his title from defeating the Telexilata inside the Hollow River Volatan Mountain. Sacrificed his brother to gain the blessing of Akiran. And was given the chance to claim the journey, claim the sword, of Zotwak here now, the former champion. Made a pact with Akiri. Gained a scar and it fills in a few more details about the process, but it's just like this time around, it's just like listing off bullet points of how things came about. And the spell is successful. Completes. Well, now that that's done, good job. Keep practicing. And whenever you get tired of this old fuddy-duddy here, you come work in my tower next year. She kind of like ruffles your hair a little bit.
Thanks, Albie.
Right. Now, we've got one confirmation, more to go. We'll figure that out later, but this does show up a lot of ways. The spell's a shortcut. The spell is not infallible, and oftentimes, especially when recording history, there are plenty of things, especially eyewitness accounts and physical records, that need to be gathered. The spell is not entirely complete. I would get my people working on that immediately. Warden and Van, start to your side as well, so we can also record you as the current champion. Somehow things have fallen through the cracks on our side. Apologies there. Now, when I'm complete, I will come back. Hopefully you are well rested by then. And if this is indeed some move being made by the factions of fire in order to gain a foothold against water, we're talking about the fundamental forces of nature literally going to form and trying to rip themselves apart from this river. She takes a moment and points. The severity of this, that mountain that raises above every tower we have, that's like us wielding a dagger to them. That is a weapon. A tsunami, a blink of an eye. Now, excuse me if I go to some more. She turns around, she teleports back out.
Warden is going to abruptly stand up from the table, and he is going to say, Dro, about that conversation I wanted to have earlier, now seems like as good a time as any if people are gonna go off and rest for a little bit.
Oh, yes,
We
I
need
can
to
show you
speak
private rooms
immediately.
if you'd like.
Please do. Yep, so easy enough. You guys go. You are escorted to private rooms. You're welcome to kind of do as you like around the tower, except going to any rooms that are locked, like Hasport said. So, let's start there. Warden and Dro. Oh, actually, now let's go ahead and take a break. We will come back. So, Warden and Dro, you wander off first. And there's plenty of little pockets. There's little hallways. There's other alcoves. There's like an alchemist laboratory and research areas. There's even a place that as you walk in, it literally just looks like a network, like a bunch of wires and whatnot, but upon closer inspection, they're not wires. They're more like glass tubes that are pulsating with magical energies, a little bit similar to modern day fiber optics. So there's just plenty of little spots for you to tuck away and have a conversation with.
Before we get too far, as I pass Hasport, I hate to ask, but would you possibly be able to get a message out to someone in the city?
And we have to be somewhat familiar with this.
Are you familiar with the Temple of Gentle Light?
Again, my area of expertise. But vaguely.
It is ran by a fella that goes by the name Randar.
I've heard. I don't think I've ever had the pleasure to meet, but I can send one of my assistants to deliver the message in person. If that's
Yeah, I think really the message would just be our planned meeting should probably move up. And I would also like them to inform him that I am currently here.
good.
Thank you.
Right.
In turn to Warden. This talk?
Yes. Well, we might want to go a little bit more private.
In Dro's head, still not familiar with how this mind link works. Are you still there? You're muted.
Yes, I am. I'm getting ready for bed though. What is it?
Okay.
Do you need me? I can come.
Just... I have a feeling. Just be made available currently. I'm going to talk with Warden.
Don't
And
piss him off. He might shoot you.
it's not the first time someone has shot me. And then he's just going to follow
I'll
Warden.
go hang out with Yazlin.
Oh boy. He says in his head.
Right before we leave, Warden will turn back and say, "Oh, one last thing, Asport. Do the walls have ears or eyes?"
I assume you need to ask if I am omnipotent in my own space.
Yes.
No. That sounds like quite a bother. And I have many people coming in and out. I prefer to trust those coming in and out, especially those who are to report to me.
I wholeheartedly agree. I would not want to hear everything that goes on my airship, especially after the last alliance.
This is gonna be never-ending insight checks.
Right. Well, if you are ready to go, I would be more than happy to go have a conversation with you.
Lead the way.
Warden is going to walk down the hall, and then he's going to find a staircase, walk up a staircase, and then walk down the hall, and then open a door to a room, enter the room, turn back out, walk out of the room, walk down the staircase, walk down the opposite hall, and then look for another staircase to find his way up, go almost as high as he can to the second to last floor, and then look for a relatively empty room up there.
Whole path Dro's relaying to Margot in his head. Probably not gonna help in this Tower of Maze, but
So we took a left turn at the wall that looks like the rest of the walls, and there was another turn that you could have done, but don't do that turn. It leads to, well, a hallway that looks the same as the other hallways.
let's see how well Margot is good at navigating.
Alrighty, so as we enter into the room, I'm getting many messages from clients. It's 11 o'clock, buddy. Cool. Not important messages. They can wait till tomorrow. So, as we enter into the room, Warden is going to make his way over to whatever the door might be, window, or a closet, or something else within the room. And then whatever that something might be, the window or door or whatever, he'll just lean against it.
Sure. You essentially choose a simple room that it's just a walk-in closet that has a variety of robes to it. Almost, and the robes are different colors and different styles and whatnot. But there's something about the way that they're laid out. It's less of an ensemble, and it's more of like the wizard's version of lab coats. It's just a room full of the robes.
Is there a reason that we have this conversation? I understand, maybe not with the new individuals that had brought us to a strange tower, but the individuals that I've been traveling with.
Yes. You are the champion of water. And as a champion, I'm sure that you understand the type of personality that goes along with being a champion. One must be honest and true, truthful and brave. One must be a protector and stand up for anyone who needs it. And with that, champions are not liars. However, the people you travel with are not champions. And unfortunately, I've not built up quite enough trust to be able to trust them with the information that I would like to entrust you. You see, I know what it means to be a champion, and you know what it means to be a champion. And so I think that we're going to get along very well, I hope.
Can I roll an insight when he says he knows what it's like to be a champion?
Yes, you can. Gordon, give me a private roll.
Yeah, well, this is a weird thing. Hold on.
I know it's weird. I know why it's weird. You guys are pushing all the buttons on the secrets today, and so like we have to do all these like chats in the background.
So Margot's sitting there explaining all of the directions to Yaslin about Dro, where they're going, and she's like, but I'm not sure because this building moves a lot, and I don't know if Warden is going to shoot him or not, because we're still a little shaky on the Water-Air Alliance. We're just trusting this. I also don't know if we ever verified that Warden was a champion. We're also just going off of what he says, like the people here, so...
I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yaslin's got steam coming out of her ears, trying to keep track of all the details of the moving
She's like,
building.
she's like, I can't keep track and listen to you worrying about Warden being a champion or not right now. He can't even fly, so I don't know. I'm half qualifying him right now anyways. Like, how can you be champion of air and you can't fly? That doesn't make sense.
That does feel like a rather large red flag on this topic. Perhaps we should have investigated that a bit more.
But anyways, I wouldn't worry about us getting lost. If we get lost, I'll just start breaking down the wall.
This is why I came to you. I told Dro I would find you, just in case. He's still in here, so hopefully he doesn't die before he tells us he needs help.
Oh, good.
Because I can't help him. I also can't really help him because I quite literally have nothing left. I
It's
can stab
okay.
with the dagger.
That's wonderful. Do you want the wand right now? I could give you back the wand.
Yes, I'll take the one for you.
Yeah, and she'll hand back the wand because it's like, at least she'll have something she can shoot with.
Yeah, like Margot takes it back and like as like her eyes are like kind of
Oh,
just
magic!
like trying to like fight it and stay awake.
You got this. You can do it.
Yes, you might have to carry me if he needs help because I won't be able to run fast enough to save him.
Oh gosh. Oh,
That's
well,
fine.
you know,
Like,
it's
assume the
not gonna
position,
be
just-
it's not the first time I've had to run with you, so I'm sure it won't be the last either.
Margot is the football.
We already
Passenger
said it's a
princess.
free object interaction to pick her up.
She's the passenger princess. Margot is the object.
Mhm.
What is a wand of magic
Okay.
missile? I almost added a wand of fireball.
Oh my god.
Okay, that is
No,
very
Bad,
different.
Margot, bad.
Margot's like, and we're just gonna do a quick upgrade while we're here.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
actually, that's
hey.
a good fucking point. While this is all going on, I'm gonna go find Hasport and show him the ring of spell storing. There's spells on this ring, I don't know which. Can you help me identify what magic is on this ring?
Hmm,
I forgot we had that.
certainly.
I all I have listed is there are spells on it, you don't know what.
That is accurate. And he takes a look at it and he casts Detect Magic. He says, it's illusion magic. Precisely of what? I'm not sure. It's a little tricky. These items are typically stored and used by the caster themselves, so they just keep track of what items that they want to have in there. Now, this, I assume, was not yours to begin with. No judgments, but if you don't know, realize that heavily. Now, I can tell you it's high level illusion. Probably about as high of a spell in that school as you can cast in any right now. So I would suggest if there is something you need deceived, given what that you are desperate, give it a try. Otherwise, you have the option of just slowly letting the magic leak out and resetting it entirely.
I'm always one for Hail Marys. I think I'll hold on to this and see what happens.
There's something that scares me about the use of it. Yeah. Going back. Dro, you read into, well, first of all, Dro, are you using your eye or no?
No.
Okay. Something is fishy about it. Something weird is up. Abso-freaking-lutely, he's acting like a buffoon. More so while sober than when he's drunk, which is odd. But you believe him on this topic. I know what it's like to be a champion. Or, what did he say? I know what it takes to be a champion.
Yeah, it was I know what it is to be a champion.
Yeah, I know what it is to be a champion. He knows. Truthful.
I intend on being truthful with you, because that is the point of being a champion. But I must preface this by saying there is a reason why I drink. My life is not a happy one, but it's not a good one. Every time I attempt to do my job, every time I attempt to do good, to help anyone, bad always comes from it. And most people end up finding themselves dead. It sucks. Everyone I've ever loved, everyone I've ever cared about, they pushed me away. They've died. And it hurts. It's something that I try to forget for as long as I can. Part of the reason why I drink. Probably the main reason. But when forced into sobriety, I am also forced into remembering the past. Please forgive me if I omit a few details. Some stuff is just hard to bring up. But I would like to tell you why I am the champion of air. And specifically why I was acting weird back there. And if you don't mind, I would like this to stay between us. I don't trust everyone else yet. And these burdens that I carry are so strong that, well, I don't wish other people to know about them either, because it might weigh them down too.
Dro's just staring at you intently, but I think you would notice when you were mentioning a troubled life and those that are close to you either pushed you away or died. I think the intensity, like that he was looking at you, there's more of, he understands that. Before we continue and you explain what information you want to keep between us, I will at least show a matter of trust you with sharing some details that obviously were left out, and obviously the reason we were chased by those guards to begin with. As I have not had the greatest upcoming. Honestly, the best thing that's happened is finding those three. But obviously there's something going on with that sword that Margot carries now. The name Echo has been thrown around, and there's probably hundreds and hundreds of questions. So I will travel painfully back into the past as I did with the other three. My name is Dro. I'm an orphan. and I grew up on the streets of Aurora's Rest. For a time, it was just me, but I was taken in by the Temple of Gentle Light until one normal day, another individual similar to my appearance appeared, a little bit different, resembling the appearance I took the first time Eve did her spell. And that is the individual that we've called Echo. And that was my first person I truly called family. And to me, he is still my brother. I went through the city hated for my mixed blood. Only love that was shown to me was a brotherly love from Echo, a fatherly, very strict fatherly love from Randar. And at the time, I didn't know what it was. It was another individual by the name of Freya. She taught me a lot in the city, taught me a lot about life and how to find the good in everybody, even if it's very small. Then, after years have gone by, obviously, I don't know how aware you are within big cities, but there's always something in the works behind the scene, and that's no different here. And one night I was going to meet with Freya, and I stumbled upon some bandits, mercenaries, I honestly don't care what they were, attacking her. And my instinct of protection, like you'd mentioned, had kicked in. The difference is I don't remember the fight. I remember a sense of fear for Freya, and then darkness, and then what felt very quick. I was down, holding her barely lifeless body. And in front of us, 4 or 5 other bodies of those bandits. And the sword that Margot now carries covered in blood. So, the key to that is Freya is a member of a very well-known family. So you can probably piece together how well that looked for me. I vividly remember the last request from her. And she gave me these necklaces. And Dro takes off the one he's wearing, which is a crescent moon with a globe, like an orb of purple twilight in it. We had worn these. And she asked me 2 things. To not be angry and to not seek revenge. And 2, to give this other necklace to someone that I truly love. So then that started the journey and led me here, and the sacrifice I had made for, and he kind of swings the sword around, being champion. So believe me when you say that you've had a troubled life. I understand. There's a little advice that I've learned along the way, thanks to the 3, is don't go about it alone. Find people that help you through it. And then once you learn to not lock it away, and I'm still learning this, it does get better. So, champion to champion. And he kind of looks at you a little bit, still not fully believing that you're a champion at this point. As long as you protect those 3, you've got my trust.
You were sent on this journey to find love again, and you were told to give this necklace to the person that you love. And it's been all this time, and you've still never found love again.
He just kind of smiles. You know, if you asked me that a couple weeks ago, I would probably say, I honestly don't know. But I will say, and he'll put the necklace back on, this is the only one I have right now.
I see, so you got more than one necklace.
Yeah.
Since becoming champion of water, have you been honorable?
Just kind of sit there and think. Honestly, I don't know. I know I protect those that can't protect themselves, and if that means putting my life on the line for those I care for, or even those that can't protect themselves, I will. The opposite side of that is I feel that this part of me that still wants to get revenge for Freya and revenge for... No, I don't think it's revenge, but this personal quest of finding Echo is a distraction from what the champion's duty is at the moment. So you can take that as you will.
So we will clear your name, so you can focus completely on your duties.
I don't think clearing my name is going to be as easy, and honestly, I don't really know what happened, so that doesn't help my cause. All they see is a member of a very well-known and powerful family murdered in the streets, and the last individual they saw was a half-elf running. So
I can see why that would look bad, but if you have no memory of actually killing this person, then the likelihood is you were possibly possessed if you did kill them in the first place, and then you wouldn't have been the killer. It would be whatever possessed you. Therefore, you would still be innocent.
So there is one detail I left out about Echo. Nobody could see Echo till Margot came along, and that is because we technically shared the same body. There was moments, one in particular that I can remember, and we had mentioned fighting the fire elementals where he had taken control. And I think for most of my life I didn't want to believe it, but there is a possibility that he could have accidentally been the killer.
Well then, we ask him and we bring him to justice. How do I bring him out?
Let me know when you find that answer.
Well, we're in a magical wizard tower, and we just saw some lady spit up a whole bunch of black blood, which I still have right here. So I'm sure that there's at least one way that we would be able to explore.
There may be a possibility of conversation with him, but it requires Margot. She believes that she knows a way to reconnect Echo to me. I don't understand how, but if there's any hope of getting my brother back, I've got to go after it.
And she's not already explored this way with you?
There's been kinks in the plan. We didn't plan on being chased through the city.
I see. This is a recent development.
Yeah.
All right.
But she also requires information from her family that she has requested. So it's kind of a waiting game.
I see. Well, I believe the simple solution is we simply get aboard my ship, we fly to her family, we have them give her the information, and then we fly back. You contact Echo. Echo explains what happened that night, and if he is guilty, well then we end the possession immediately.
There was recent development of information on that.
You seem to enjoy bringing up just a little bit of information that might have been, just glossed over.
I mean, to be fair, would you drop your entire tragedy of your life to a complete stranger who, keep in mind, has said he is the champion of air, and last I knew, air is up, and when you jumped out the window, you went down?
Yes, actually.
Lawless
There's something
logic.
You didn't.
There's something about being a champion. What I said earlier was trust, honesty, protection. I will be honest with you.
Warden, are you really the champion of air?
Yes.
So, why did they say back there that they had no record of you, nor do you seem to possess any abilities, at least to my knowledge, related to air?
Can you breathe underwater?
I can.
Well, shit, you weren't supposed to say yes. Well, I suppose it's time. I suppose it's time for my life story then, in this little exchange. It all started when I was hatched. I was in a three-cree nation, in a mountain. And I spent a lot of my life flying. Going in between the mountains, exploring the tops of the mountains and the bottoms of the mountains. But I discovered a little something that I should not have discovered, and curiosity got the better of me. I began to question the stuff that I had been told growing up. And as I questioned more, the more I realized that the world was much, much bigger than I thought it was going to be. And so I continued exploring. And I unlocked information that I should not have unlocked. I went to a place that, well, I'm glad I went to, but it was not the best place to be. And as I was returning, I was intercepted by the gods of the Three Kreen Nation that I was a part of. I was taken before the matriarch, who brutally dismembered and dismantled my wings. He's going to go ahead and take off his jacket, and then take off his shirt until it's just the bare bug torso underneath. And wings are gonna pop out. And as the wings pop out, you can see that I don't know, is it like the skin? Whatever that thing.
Membrane.
The membrane, there you go.
Yep, gotcha.
There are just holes in the membrane. There are singes, there are tears, there are rough cuts. There is magical damage done, but there's still little bits and pieces of the membranes left. He says, "That was the day that I lost my first name. It was stripped from me, along with my citizenship, and I was cast out. I knew too much. I was no longer welcome in my own home. I left my family. I left my friends. I left everything I knew. I left everything I was going to do. I left everything I learned. And I walked. And walked and walked. He's going to bring his wings back in and start putting his clothes back on. Until eventually, I discovered the temple. This was the Temple of Air, and upon arriving there, I begged and pleaded to join. They graciously let me in. I learned a lot about air and flight. I was taught how to work on airships. I was taught how to manufacture one from scratch if I actually wanted to spend the time and resources on how to do that. And of course, I was taught how to... Oh. Well, I can't really show you in this room, but he's gonna take out a little orb. And he's going to hold up the orb. He's going to say, "When I throw this, this turns into a dragon. But not a normal dragon. It turns into a mechanical dragon. It is something that I built from scratch with the knowledge that I've learned." Once again, this is information I try to keep silent, as I don't like to run around with a mechanical dragon at my heels. It tends to scare people, and that's not what I'm trying to do. Places the ball back into his pocket, and he says, "And so, I rose through the ranks, and I quickly became a Warden of Air. Up until this point, I had simply been nameless. The name I once had, known only to me, and to never be shared again. But when I achieved the rank of Warden of Air, for the first time I felt pride and accomplishment. So I adopted the name as my own. It felt so good to be a part of something again, to be someone again, not just the outcast, not just the student. And as a Warden of Air, I was essentially the right hand to the Champion of Air. I went with him on all of his quests. When you talk about love, I think that's what I felt. I don't know what kind of love it was. I don't know if this was romantic, sexual, friendship. But truly, my life with him was better. The person I was became better. He changed me in ways that I never thought. And I learned the way that the world is supposed to be viewed through him. The respect that people deserve, the honor that they deserve, protection, helping, good. I learned to be good. I was no longer just aimless. I had a code. I had something to follow. And so we went on adventures. I was commissioned a ship, and I was the pilot of that ship. He traveled with his companions, and he traveled with me. And whenever we flew, especially over the evenings and early mornings, we would just talk for hours. I learned so much about him. What a life he lived. There were plenty of times where I would go ahead and land the ship, and we would be immediately swarmed by monsters. And so I learned to use a weapon. I would stay on the ship, and I would snipe any attackers that went for the champion of air. And this is how I learned my skills in combat. And as I became far better with a rifle, the Temple of Air bestowed upon me my own special weapons that were all air-based. I'm sure that you might not have noticed this when we were fighting the monks, since I was a little ways from you in the darkness, but I have weapons that utilize the air. Anyways, upon receiving these weapons, we went out on our next quest. And upon going out to these next quests, I suppose I'll tell you the goal of the quest. We left to discuss with a nearby Three Green village that was up in a mountain. We were supposed to discuss trade, and seeing as I am a Three Green and was previously from a different village, the Champion of Air, the Wardens, and the Temple of Air themselves believed that I was probably the best person to journey with the Champion. And so we arrived, and we attempted to talk with them, but there was not much talk. So we returned home disappointed. And then later we were ambushed. That same Three Green nation that we had gone to chat with, that we were on the beginning of making some form of at least a trade alliance with, killed so many people. So many died. And so I fought valiantly at the champion's side, with all of the other wardens, but one by one we fell. And soon, there was perhaps a little more than a dozen of us left. The champion lay dying in the ground. So I walked over to him. I bent down, and I cried for him. I watched my friend die in front of me. But before he died, he pulled the insignia from his armor, and he gave it to me. And he told me, Warden, you are the champion. You are the next champion of air. You are the most honorable person I've known. I've taught you everything of what it means to be the champion of air. It's your turn. Forsake the pistols you were given from the Air Temple. Take my weapons, wear my badge, and continue the legacy of the Champion of Air. And so, I did. I continued as the Champion of Air, but his death got to me. And as I eventually made my way northward in my ship, I drank more and more, trying to forget that every place I've called home has been taken from me. And I was doing a pretty good job at it too, until... annoying. And so... I came here. And as I drank more, I questioned what it truly meant to be a champion. And so I simply started picking up odd jobs. I never lost my morality, I never lost my faith or my honor, but I've not been pursuing it as much as he would have liked. I miss Otgar Arndale. I miss him a lot. And I wish I could have honored his memory better. But now I'm an old man, and I'm just traveling, looking for something to do. And now there's a war on our lap, with a whole bunch of elements all getting ready to kill each other, and is it bad that I feel excited?
I don't think so. Because from what you just told me, and the regret that you feel that you are not honoring your friend, this war might be the way in terms to redeem that. You were bestowed a final gift from a loved one. Ironically, I as well. And I am still very new to this whole champion shit. And trust me, I am not good at it. But a little lesson that was taught to me by the three, what some would call us misfits, is rely in your companions and trust and have a reason to protect them. Like I told you, I grew up lonely, and honestly, goal in life was to find my mother and my father and ask them, why the hell would you abandon me? And that was my original task given to me, not the task that Freya. And he's going to visibly pause. Coming here was just a plus to deliver information that I was tasked to get. But I don't think that information that I gathered is more valuable than the information I personally have gathered in my quest to find my family. And the three that are standing, kind of looks around, somewhere in this fucking maze, have shown me that a home is not a place, but it's those that you care about. And we all have a real fucked up backstory, trust me. And there's just something about those three that makes me proud and excited to call myself Zatro. So,
forgive me if I am not quick to attachment. The only thing that's ever stayed with me in my life is pain. Everyone I've ever loved, every place I've ever called home, every person that's ever made me feel at home has died, or has been taken from me. And so if I grant you those titles, probably you will all die too. That would be wrong of me to do.
that I understand, and I was the same way. I tend to stick to myself in thought of If I'm alone and I don't attach myself to anybody, how could I get hurt again? What I have learned, though, is that pain that I have. Without it, I would not be where I am right now. I would not call myself a champion. I would not have protected and saved many lives that I have in the ripples. I would have not have found two individuals I would consider siblings and one that I have think is the person Freya told me to find.
But if you had never gone through any of that pain in the first place, you would still have Freya. You would still have everything. I don't have much, but if I go through the pain a third time, I'm already an old man. I don't have many years left. If I go through that pain again and lose what I have left, my ship or my title, what's the point?
You ask, what's the point? That is a very common phrase, I would say. Find a reason. My reason is my friends. My reason now is I am the champion of water. And yes, there will be pain. There will be things you can't avoid until you're saying, I truly believe Freya was going to die no matter what. This is the path that I'm sent down. And I didn't want to believe it when I was told, but as I'm standing here in front of a stranger explaining this, I think I truly believe it. And you ask, no, you say you don't want to burden us with that title of being your reason to continue forward. You travel with us, you're going to learn real quick. You don't have a lot of say in that.
Well, right now it's easy, because I'm simply being paid, and I can at least express naivety in being a mercenary.
That is very fair. So let's make a deal then, Morden. We hired you to be our pilot and our bodyguard. We've already made your life hell by literally hours after we hired you, abandoning you. Again, sorry about that. But we do have a common cause and a common duty for this war. So, our original plan is to finish up loose ends here in Aurora's Rest and travel to the Guild of Knowledge to gather more information on how we can plan for this war, find allies, and we hope you come with us there, and then from there we will take the ship. And I have a place in mind, but the group needs to have a discussion. And again, it may be a personal, selfish quest for another, but I promised her that I would go with her to speak to her family. And if we get to that point and you truly believe still that you do not want to, what you call, burden us, can we part ways and possibly meet on the battlefield? Or you join us and become a soldier of Aeon?
I'm no soldier. I'm a warden. I'm a protector.
Joe's gonna lean in. I didn't have a pick on that name.
Oh, I see.
But I will say there will be pain along the way. There have been many close calls for all of us. But I will say, we will do some pretty stupid shit to defend each other. Like make stupid deals, or dive off mountains and skyships, or walk through fire for each other. But what I can tell you is if you fully trust them, they will trust you. Well, think on it. And for now, until you trust them, what we have discussed here will stay between us.
Which brings up the question, player to player, is Dro relaying all that information to Margot?
Dro has been absolutely silent to Margot.
Gotcha. Okay. Gordon doesn't know that, but me knows that.
I think you would also clock. You know what? No. I'll message you that directly.
Very well. Well, I was expecting to cry, and I certainly felt at least a little bit teary-eyed. But maybe it's a little bit easier to talk about things. That must mean things are getting worse. I'm becoming more numb. Shall we go and relax and sleep? And I really don't need to do anything to feel better, but everyone else wasn't feeling great. I watched all of you get your shit kicked in, and I just stood there going, oh, that's not good.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Seamus was a pincushion. Yaslin was running with an arrow in her foot. I don't know why. And Margot... And he just stops. Fuck. Recalling what he looked like at the beginning of that fight. I have a feeling that I am going to be next in the hot seat.
Oh.
Do explain.
How much should I... And he's saying this out loud. There is some information that is probably not mine to share, but I will say, now that I think about it, the disguise I had used prior to learning that you can't fly was resembled off of Margot. And it was just in the moment. But I didn't think if it would have affected her.
I see. So as champion, we will need to protect her.
Kind of smiles. It may be me running and avoiding a fireball. But we
I
shall
can see
see.
that too. Well, worst comes to worst. If you must evade a fireball, I do have healing magics, and if I am fast enough, I can get my mechanical drake in front of the fireball.
It's
If I need to, I can also shoot her hand.
It's ironic. This isn't the first time. This may be the first time she's done it on purpose.
And you said you trust these people and that they're your friends, but they're launching fireballs at you. This seems to be a little bit of a, I don't know, a trust issue.
It's more of a, putting it blatant, fucked up family.
Well, I had about 35 brothers and sisters, so I know what it means to have a fucked up family.
Okay. But yes, I do trust them. There is a possibility that there may have been some trauma that I opened up. Maybe. So, perfect example of being there for them. Even if it means possibly a fireball, or for another who leans more towards the punching or
You're just
biting.
convinced. You're just convincing me not to want to open up to them. Because if I share this information, and they get violently aggressive, as you are suggesting, then I simply do not wish to know anything else about them. Because I don't want them to start hitting me.
I don't think they'll be violent towards you. I think it is more of a stepping stone that you will have to take. And the advice I will give you is, like I said, we all have our history. And I believe that is why we trust each other. And you mentioned you trust me. And I trust them with my life.
You trust Margot.
Yes, I trust Margot. She,
And
as a complete stranger, has offered an option to get my brother back. And she also sacrificed something for somebody close to me without even knowing what the outcome was going to be. So yes, as much as we may bicker and fight, we also protect each other. And honestly, I think she's teaching me what it's like to have a little sister. And literally little.
I shall think on this a little bit more, especially because, well, I can see how Yaslin would be trustworthy, and I can see how you, a champion, would be trustworthy, but one person can literally turn into shadows and summon bats, so that also feels a little bit shady.
So, how much of my combat have you seen?
Not much. I suppose you did do a teleport, right? You were there one moment, I turned around, because I was trying to protect you, and then you teleported, and then you jumped out the window again.
Yeah, my bad. I will just say Seamus and I do share a common theme.
Do you
To
also
some degree.
summon bats?
No. Yeah, that's new. Just so
well.
you're aware.
Then I assume that you turn into shadows.
Not exactly, but I do tend to lean towards them more. The teleportation that you saw me use relies solely on darkness. I also have the ability to summon a range of darkness, similar to what you may see Seamus do. And I also can see within it for quite a distance. I know, I'm not sure how many people you've ran into of individuals with the ability to see through your standard darkness, no lights. Mine exceeds that.
Is Yaslin also magical in some way?
If you consider punching very hard magical or terrifying people, then yes. If
I
not,
see.
no.
So she is the only one of us who is not magical. Good to know. I shall keep this in mind in the future. Well,
just
are you ready to rest?
yeah, just some helpful advice. Don't touch Yaslin if you don't want to lose a hand. And he just opens the door, walks out.
Warden will wait a little bit, admire the little robes in there, consider taking one, and then realize that, well, that's not a good thing to do. That'd be theft, and that's a bad guy thing. And he's eventually going to leave and go find his room.
As Dro walks out, after I imagine that conversation took a bit, Margot, I think we are good. I think Warden is going to be a helpful ally.
Was that a question? I thought we were paying him already.
For now. And then I think, not thinking, Joseph's like, how the fuck do I get out of here?
As Drog begins to scratch his head and wonder where he is in this labyrinthine tower. We'll end for the night there.